Hey guys, today we're gonna be talking about animal endangerment. It's our first discussion on this topic. Who wants to start this discussion? Did you guys find something interesting that you found in articles or videos? Anything cool about animal endangerment?
Bees are dying.
Bees are dying.
Bees are dying. Can you be more specific about that? So,
They're going extinct. Which, it's really bad because it's getting warmer also. So they get, weaker, and just more people are killing them, and it's just, the hives and everything, they're getting more and more destroyed, and they don't have anywhere to go. But if you don't have bees, the plants won't be able to survive. So it's, a really big deal that bees are endangered because they're really necessary.
Yeah, I think you mentioned a really cool point about how we're dependent on each other, how people and animals are interdependent.
Yeah, because we need them for everything.
Yeah,
because anything we eat basically, because yes, the vegetables, but they also pollinate the grass that the cows eat that we also eat. So it's really important to the backbones of food.
Similar to how if we cut down trees, there are organisms that actually depend on trees, and how organisms live in they depend on the leaves for their survival. So if we do something that disrupts an ecosystem, that might actually harm, in the long run, it might harm more organisms, and they might even face endangerment or extinction. So I think that a small thing that we do that could possibly contaminate the environment could lead to even more harmful consequences, and how it could even build up and actually cause really serious outcomes. So I think that we should definitely watch it.
I think what people kind of fail to realize is that the environment is all connected together.
Yeah.
So even if there's different types of environments, like a desert or a forest or the ocean, they are all interconnected. And basically, if one part of, for example, if the ocean, the water level rises, for example, then the desert is also going to get messed up.
Yeah.
The forests are going to get messed up. Everything is going to be out of place and out of order. And the same thing for, let's say, if the forests start disappearing in at a rapid state. So I think it's actually very important to not just focus on specific, types of environments or animals, but to kind of focus on Earth as a whole.
Yeah, and that's something we learned about in bio last year. It's equilibrium or something, because everything needs to be balanced, and even when one thing's thrown off, butterfly effects, that's the thing, is like you said, ocean rises, even a desert or a landlocked area might even get affected, because it's all
Intertwined,
yeah. It's really complex.
Sometimes I think some species being extinct is more rather beneficial for us. For example, scientists are researching method to kill off mosquitoes that spread harmful disease. So mosquitoes are reasonable. They are the reason of causing thousands of millions of deaths. You know how they spread disease by infecting your blood and through. I'm pretty sure you've all heard of Zika virus and stuff. True, if mosquitoes die, then the organisms that feed themselves by eating mosquitoes, they will be affected. But I think it's sometimes necessary to try to get them extinct before it caused more trouble to us. And also, cockroaches, I personally want them to go extinct. Yeah.
But then that kind of brings up the question of what kind of criteria should we use to either decide to make animals go extinct, or to not save them, or to try to preserve them. So
Yeah. Actually, it brings up a really cool question that I didn't really think about. Is it actually beneficial to make certain species extinct if it's beneficial for us?
I don't think that's our place to decide.
That's true, yeah.
Because we're not I don't believe that humans should be valued over all the other animals.
Mhm.
So I don't think that's really our choice to like make groups of animals extinct. Like we have no right to do that. So like I don't think we like really have the right to be killing off any species or even stuff like trophy hunting, which is causing a lot of things to go extinct.
Wouldn't the whole world have to agree on making the animal go extinct? Because, like, here you can't just make one choice by yourself.
Yeah.
You probably have to get permission from, like, everyone.
I get like how we need like approval for every country, I guess, but like I kind of agree with Cadence how we don't really have an option to make those decisions, because even if it's harmful for us, we don't have like the right to make a certain species extinct, because like we're not trying to be more superior or we're not trying to assert our dominance. It's just, yeah, I don't think we should be involved in like changing which species are going to evolve and which species are not. So
Then aren't we already making species go extinct though? It's
Yeah.
just that we aren't intentionally doing
Indirectly.
that. Right?
Yeah, but like then again, like there's another side to that where I don't think we should like purposely be trying to save species that like aren't surviving. Like that's the thing is no one really like poaches pandas, right?
Yeah.
They're just like going extinct because they're literally too lazy to reproduce. Like that's the reason behind it.
Actually, there is poaching going on. I'm gonna have to correct you on that.
Not
There's
as
a lot of
much.
poaching, but there is. It is a contributing factor. So that has to be also taken into consideration. Is what I'm saying.
It's just that some, I guess like some, like even before humans came, like some species went extinct. It's like it's not like we shouldn't actively try, like we shouldn't be killing animals, but like species that we don't even interfere with, I don't think we should be trying to save them.
There's a funny situation going on in Korea right now. You guys know Gorani or water horse? No, water horse, water deer. They're deer with fangs. It's just kind of they're listed as endangered. But
Can you show us a picture, really quickly?
Wait, what?
Water deer.
Gorani. Or water deer. Yeah. That
Oh
one.
wow.
Whoa.
So,
Whoa.
Yeah, we can search it up by ourselves. I realized. Yeah, you don't have to show. Yeah,
they
okay.
It's cute.
they are
It's
listed
not.
endangered, but those endangered species is mostly like
Take your time.
oversaturated in Korea, like the peninsula region.
Mhm.
So while it's endangered for the rest of the world, Korea actually listed them as a harmful animal because there's too many in Korea only, and then they are still endangered. We're not supposed to hunt them, but Korea count them as a harmful animal because they constantly go to the farms and ruin the crops.
Do you know why there's so many Gorani, like the water deer, in just the Korean peninsula?
I don't know. I'm not sure why, but all I know is that they usually stay in the China's Manchuria region to end of Korea, South Korea. I don't know why, but that's the main part they live in. And also, we mentioned hunting, but sometimes I think hunting is not only for our pleasure, but hunting is a method used to also help other species. For example, if there's a species that is, if there's a invading species and it starts to harm the environment or ecosystem around there, sometimes people actually hunt that species to like lower the amount of that animal living in that ecosystem, so the animals can also coexist. For example, deers. Do you know $1 is called $1?
Yeah.
That's actually because, at least I heard, that's actually because back then they hunted a deer because there were too many of them, and then they traded for $1 because there's way too many of them, and
Oh.
that's what I
pretty
heard.
cool.
Well, that is
Makes
interesting.
That's
Yeah,
some really cool
it just shows how
facts.
common bucks were back then. Just
Yeah.
$1, right? Yeah.
So if that is true, then I think it tells us how certain animal can harm the ecosystem because there's too many of them.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that, like, I guess in a way, also try to help maintain the ecosystem by, like, as Minnow said, hunting, trying to balance out the populations. But I think we cause more trouble for the animals because of, of human activities. And, like, for example, like, pollution, how we cut down trees for, like, agriculture or industrial factors that are involved. Like, we harm the environment to an extent that, like, it actually poses a serious danger to all the animals. And I think that we should, place more importance on how we're negatively impacting animals in an ecosystem.
Like, honestly, I think Earth would be like 500% better off if humans just like didn't exist. No, because like no animal species has harmed the Earth in a way that humans have.
Right.
That's true.
We're like literally killing the planet that we live on with all these like innocent animals on it because like they're not doing this crap to the planet. So I feel like we're like a horrible species for doing that. Like, if humans just, like, disappeared, I feel like everything would just, like, be better.
Sean, do you have anything to
Not from that.
Or in general,
Okay, but if you get an
talking.
opportunity, if you like think of something, then just
Just
say
like
it.
Thanos the Earth. Just
Yeah, but, like, the topic in general, like, what do you think about, like, animal endangerment and, like, what we should do to, prevent that?
I think at the rate that humans are industrializing, it's like unavoidable.
Yeah.
Like, and you can't control, like, humans are too greedy to like try to control themselves before ruining the area, so they don't think about that first.
Yeah.
So you're saying that there's no way to stop animal extinction?
No, I think that
At all,
comes down to the
or-
question where how best we can minimize
best?
animal endangerment, how best we can prevent that from happening.
yeah.
Not like trying to fully achieve that, because that's like impossible.
Okay.
Like Sean
even
mentioned.
with like the climate change and like global warming, like we're at a point where we can't really make the Earth cooler.
Mm-hmm.
But like there are polar bears. I heard about this on the news, but there are like polar bears because what happens is in the winter or when it gets colder, they go out onto the ice sheets that form over the ocean to hunt seals, and that's like part of just like their instinct. And because of global warming, the ice is thinner, and so what's happening is polar bears their instinct is, and they migrate like they're supposed to, but they go out onto thin ice, and the ice either breaks, or worse, they get stuck on a piece of ice and float hundreds of miles away and end up drowning, which is like really bad. But like we can't go back from that, so I think we've already caused like really bad damage.
Okay. Well, but if we were going to make an effort to protect animals, do you think that... So this is a question I prepared like a few days ago. Should we focus on biodiversity or just ecological preservation? As in, or in other terms, do we focus on individual species or just the environment as a whole? Like to say it more simply.
What do you
I
think?
think it's not the best way, but individual is the most reasonable method because we are using the ecosystem as our source of energy, and I don't think we're too dependent on it to the point that I think us trying to like preserve the ecosystem will actually be harmful for us.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can't so if we restrain ourselves from using certain resource, then that would cause that could lead to some kind of economical problem maybe. So I think preserving the species one by one would be more reasonable for us to do, and maybe even better for them.
But if a certain environment isn't preserved, then wouldn't the animals that live inside it also be harmed as well?
People, that is true, but for example, zoos are kind of nowadays. Back then, zoos were for entertainment, but I think people are starting to use zoo. It's kind of like a preserving method, and what was it Yellowstone thing? Yellowstone Park.
Yeah.
Like that the park, like those parks are meant to preserve those species, but also the ecosystem, since no human activity is allowed there, I believe. Only for just view and yeah. So I think what we should do is, instead of trying to preserve the ecosystem, I think we should try to start building new facilities to kind of support these species.
Actually makes a really good point, because the reason why I guess pandas still exist and didn't go extinct is because the efforts of countries like China and America to put pandas into certain zoos and then have them breed with each other and create offspring. And so you could criticize zoos for being inhumane in a sense that the animals are deprived of their natural habitat. They don't get to roam around freely. But in the case of endangered animals, they're safe. They're protected, right? So zoos like that, like as you mentioned, definitely has their pros and cons. And I think it's more on the pro side when we're considering endangered animals. Con if if it's just like common animals, I guess, in a way. Cadence.
I have something to say. It's just like there are still zoos just for entertainment that treat animals horribly.
Yeah.
There are also places, like I went to Tanzania over spring break, and I went to a wildlife center. And it wasn't like a zoo, like the animals weren't separated, but it was a huge area. It's one of the biggest national parks in the world, but it's completely protected. Like no weapons are allowed in there. And I feel like that's also like a really good other option other than keeping them separate in cages, letting them live out their natural lives, but making it so that they can't get hurt. And it was actually really sad because we were on a safari and we saw we saw a bunch of elephants and a bunch of giraffes and everything. And then we saw one single rhino, and we're like, where are the rest of them? And he's like, in this entire, like, I'd say it was like many square miles. Like, it was huge. It took hours just to drive through. But they're like, there's only like 7 left here. And they're like, this is for the entire country. That's how many are left. And it was really sad.
Yeah.
But they have authority. If any other animal attacks the rhino, they have the authority to go off the path and chase away the other animal. That's the only time they're ever allowed to go off. But it is to protect the rhinos because there's so few of them.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. I don't think I've ever heard a case of like that except the one you mentioned.
Yeah, it was pretty sad.
Yeah.
It was like in a huge like Sahara field, and there's just like one single. It looked like a boulder. Like, what's that? And they're like, that's one of the rhinos. And it was all alone in this giant field, and it was like depressing.
Yeah. I guess like the amount of endangered species that we face, such as like the rhinos, kind of make me question like what like we can do to save endangered species, because I feel like this topic is unique in that it is also relevant to us. Like what we can do can actually give an impact or cause an impact on these endangered species. So what do you guys think are some plausible solutions that we can do, like us?
Right, moving on to the
yeah.
the more practical side of our discussion.
Yeah.
You know, what we can do.
So like what we can do to like prevent endangered species. What do you guys think?
Do you have any? Or Sean, Lindsay,
Or Vincent?
anything? It can be small, it's fine.
Like for my Envisai project, I was researching about saving energy and pollution, which
Yeah.
causes global warming, and I learned that in 2100 penguins are most likely to go extinct. And so I learned that scientists are like, now that fuel's gonna, I think they said fuel's gonna run out soon in like 2050 or 2080. Then they're like trying to use like artificial photosynthesis to like generate energy without having to heavily pollute the world.
Like alternative energy. Yeah.
And I actually also did the Envisai project.
Oh really?
Yeah, because we take the same course. So what I did was basically I went to the Han River, and then I picked up the trash that was laying around like the riverbed area. And then even though I only spent about an hour just putting trash into like a plastic bag, I could already see the change in front of my eyes because I took pictures and I had a before picture and an after picture.
Yeah.
And then I was imagining, if not even everyone, but then half of the population of this entire world spends 1 hour per day cleaning up our earth, not even going somewhere exotic like a rainforest or a desert, but then just in front of his or her home, then we can make a huge difference, right?
I saw an article about there was this beach. I forgot what country it was in. But there was this beach, and for like years and years and years, it had been polluted, like completely just like covered in trash. No one even swam there. There was this huge relief effort, and they cleaned the entire beach. And this past season, for the first time in a generation, sea turtles came and laid their eggs on that beach, which was like amazing because like that's where they're supposed to go, and they hadn't been able to do it. But for like the first time in these people's lives, the sea turtles came back because it was finally clean.
Mhm.
So it's like you just gotta have that effort, because also like I flew over the coast of Florida, and you could literally see it was like islands of trash. Like you could see it from a plane.
Yeah.
And that's like, if people are inventing like better ways to clean up trash out of the ocean, but I feel like it's just, yeah, everyone just needs to do a small effort, and that can really go a long way and change an ecosystem.
And I definitely think that cleaning up the environment doesn't have to be sort of like a stressful task that you do or something that you do because you want to look good. I think definitely like if you, say to a friend like, like just like have lunch and then, do this activity or whatever, I think it can definitely become like a fun activity, because when I did the river cleanup, I felt good about it,
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
not like, oh, why am I picking up this trash, When I saw it become clean again, I felt this sort of satisfaction. I think it'd be really good if more people experience that, definitely.
Yeah.
And then, so we're going to kind of wind down our discussion here because we have some other things to do.
Right.
Are there any last thoughts that you guys want to bring up?
I mean, it would help if like the companies that make the products that we consume every day, like they don't really care about making their products like friendly to the environment. Like there's so much plastic that's being used like every day to manufacture like all the plastic bottles that we use. So like it would be better if like they would be forced to like use alternative solutions to like package their products,
Yeah.
because like people need to stop like throwing it in like this streets anyways, but
Mhm.
if the products that we would throw away are like biodegradable, then it would like stop leaving such a mark on them.
Yeah.
All right, anyone else for last
It's
thoughts?
interesting how like what Sean mentioned about like recycling and like plastic and how that can also help prevent endangered species. We see like efforts being done by like every level of organization. Like governments are trying to make like international treaties to prevent endangered species. Like companies are also trying to prevent that. Not NGOs and nonprofit organizations. We're all trying to like trying to cause positive change. And even like when it comes down to individuals, we can do like simple stuff like educating people about endangered species. That could also like cause effective change. So it's really interesting how like there's different levels of solutions that can be applied with this issue.
That's like another thing is like everyone's like, oh, recycling is this amazing thing,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of the time your recycling doesn't actually get recycled. It gets put into landfills and stuff. So it's like, reduce, reuse, recycle, but people are only focusing, they're not watching how much like plastic they use or how much like cardboard or stuff that they use. Like, oh, because I'll just recycle it. But you have to like reduce how much you use, and you have to be able to like do reusable things. Because like it's just small things. Like, have you seen those things where people can literally get by on a year and make like a jar full of trash just by, bringing your own bag to the grocery store, or like getting a jar and getting stuff that way instead of putting it in a bag and stuff like that. It's just we need to focus on being able to reduce the amount of stuff that we put out in the world, because there's already so much of it.
Mm. Yeah.
All right, I think that's pretty good. All right, so this
Wait,
was
do you
yeah.
guys have anything to add? last final comments? No? Lindsay? So.
All right, then this is the Socratic Network Club signing off. Thank you for listening.